In the same 72 hours that it was announced that Disney would be cutting hundreds and hundreds of jobs at Pixar, they also bombed yet again at the box office in a way that was absolutely humiliating, embarrassing. And even with their award-winning movie Soul, which was supposed to bring people back to the box office, it did not. How is it possible to have a re-release perform so lowly that it actually makes people feel badly for Pixar? And yet that's what happened. We'll explain why, we'll tell you all about it, and give you the ridiculously low numbers that, folks, we're here to tell you, they're almost unbelievable, but they're real, and we'll give them to you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Happy to have each and every one of you out there joining us and sharing your time. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. We don't take it for granted. Also, I want to say that we don't really dislike Soul. At least I don't dislike Soul. It's not a great movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a little bit handicapped by the idea it has to take on the afterlife, and there's so many thoughts about that they can't really say anything profound because that would be a religious statement. So it's kind of just a middling movie. Still, when you look back at how movies have done in the past and re-release, I mean, gosh, they put out Return of the Jedi last year, and it did great. It did fantastic. Per theater, it was the #1 movie in the weekend that it was released. And then you look at Soul, and theater owners, even despite having nothing to show on screens, are like, stop it, get it out of here. Wow, what a bad time for Pixar. And then the job cuts, and then there's more coming out. The D-Files from Film Threat on the way. But folks, we've got a panel, and we'd like to bring them in if that's okay with you. We know you'd like to hear their voices when it comes to what in the world is going on and this very pitiful Pixar that is the modern incarnation. We do need to get, though, to, another franchise, another thing that's failing with the Walt Disney Company, and that's Pixar. It just never stops, folks. They just never, ever stop. Pixar has had the worst week ever. Let's talk about it. Ooh. This by Jordan Ruami. Ruami would have been too perfect. From World of Real. This from 3 days ago. Re-release of Pixar Soul bombs at the box office. $325K on Friday. Says, yesterday, Pixar started the theatrical re-releasing of its straight-to-Disney Plus pandemic movies. The Pixar re-releases could be seen as a symbolic gesture to the creatives involved in making these movies. Well, it could have been if they hadn't started firing them. 300 plus members of Pixar. So, folks, that means we don't know how many. It's at least 300. Never play ball with the way the mainstream drive-bys like to do this, where they say 300 plus, and then it makes you think, well, 300. Well, it could be 400. We don't know. But anyway, cutting to the marrow, cutting to the bone when it comes to Pixar, firing those people on the same day that Soul came out into theaters. Soul is the first one, Turning Red and Luca also on the way. And I'm here to tell you, folks, that it did not get better for Soul after that first day. It actually got much, much, much worse. And how bad did it get? Well, are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you the weekend domestic chart for January 12th. And before anybody out there says what the drive-bys would say, which is that, well, it's a re-release, it's a Disney Plus movie already. People have seen it. They're not going to pay for this. Recall, ladies and gentlemen, that Puss in Boots, yes, Puss in Boots, was on streaming and in theaters at the same time. Puss in Boots crushed it. Recall, ladies and gentlemen, that The Nightmare Before Christmas, which again is available on streaming for free, was re-released to theaters not long ago and made more than $10 million in its re-release. So where is Soul after this past weekend? And
I'll also
as we scroll,
Five Nights at Freddy's did the same.
Exactly. As we scroll for Soul, I want everybody to watch the theater numbers. See this? See these numbers up here? 3,791 theaters. It's a big number, right? Mean Girls. Mean Girls came in with 28 million. The Beekeeper came in with 16 million. Wonka holding strong at 8 million. Now, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where is Soul? Maybe they're not reporting it. Maybe that's what's happening. Scroll down. There's The Boy and the Heron back down there in what is that, 15th, 16th spot? They don't even keep counting, do they? Only 610 theaters, though, so it's on its way out. They must not be counting. Soul's not on here, folks. So, oh, it is.
Yikes.
That's right. Soul comes in below Trolls Band Together. By the way, this is the first time that Soul has been in theaters. And how many theaters was Soul given? 1,350 theaters. In other words, at your multiplexes, this was almost definitely on. What does that mean on how much it made per theater? Well, let's compare it to the ones that it's nearby. All of Us Strangers, a movie nobody heard of, was pulling in $3,858 per screen. Oppenheimer was pulling in $2,655 per screen. The Zone of Interest was pulling in $9,519 per screen. Heck, even The Hunger Games, which has been out forever and features Rachel Zegler, who nobody likes, $814. I kid. People do like her. They're Disney executives. $814 per screen. How much did Soul make? $324 per screen. Meaning that a grand total of less than 100 people on average went to see this film per screen, and that is extraordinarily generous. I'll drop it to 50 and feel pretty darn comfortable. This is the worst week ever for Pixar. This is the worst week ever for Disney Animation because this wasn't supposed to happen. The bottom, the bare minimum bottom for this was like 5 million. It didn't even get 2 million. It didn't even get 1 million. It bombed. It bombed in a way that is glorious only if you like to see something fall apart completely. That is the story of Soul, and it's so bad, folks, that I cannot confirm this yet. We're working on it. I promise we're working on it. I can't confirm yet, but it looks like theater owners may be trying to get out of the contracts they have with Disney for Luca and Turning Red, because almost anything that you could put in these theaters would be better than this.
This is so tragic right here. I think that, especially when you consider the buy 2 tickets to Soul, Luca, or Turning Red, if you buy 2 tickets to any of those on Fandango, you automatically get 2 tickets to Soul. I wonder if they're writing off the marketing budget and the release budget of these films as the marketing expense for Inside Out 2.
That could be. And the difficulty with them dropping these completely, I'm hearing, and this is why the other 2 movies may go to one weekend only special releases, is because of the Fandango deal, where if you buy a ticket to all of these, you get to see Inside Out 2. Now, here's the other interesting part of this. Jeff, Kocho, I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Apparently, although, again, I'm not totally for sure because we're trying to corroborate these things on the fly behind the scenes, apparently Fandango bought these promotional tickets in bulk, and so now those are just going to go to the wayside because not enough people are going to see these movies to even give them a chance at redeeming the numbers that were purchased. Don't know that 100%, but that's what we're trying to verify. I mean, this is full-blown disaster mode.
Well, this reminds me of Captain Marvel, where Disney had sold American Eagle a bunch of tickets to where every $50 you spend in the store counts as a ticket to Captain Marvel, even if you don't redeem it. So the fact that they have to sell back possibly or undo these things blows my mind. I mean, re-releases, as we talked about, they do less, but this is like really, really embarrassingly low. It's almost like, when are they going to cut their losses and just try something else?
Kocho, your thoughts on this one?
I'm not surprised. These films weren't released on theater screens for a reason, to begin with. And the fact that they thought that, that was the reason they didn't perform well on the streaming service, it's just been thrown back in their faces. This is probably one of the final death knells, if not the death knell, that basically puts Pixar in the same box as Disney Animation Studios. I think we're seeing the writing on the wall in a lot of ways, and you don't have great leadership in either place right now, and you certainly have an abundance of poor leadership and poor ideas and poor execution. So I think both. We already know 30% of the Pixar employees are going to be gone, but we also should suspect that Disney Animation employees, Walt Disney Animation Studios, are going to also be receiving layoff notices. So
that's right. And folks, that is a wrap yet again. We're so pleased that you joined us. Folks, if you could also help us out, we sure would appreciate that. Click the like button, share, subscribe, and click it. Stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Tell us why you think nobody went to go see Soul. Was it the bitter cold, or was it just bitter audiences who don't trust Disney and don't want to support them? We'd love to hear your ideas on that. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.